Hello, and welcome to the next ReeVlog, or a bonus ReeVlog. I'm even less clothed than last time, so sorry about that. Literally just got out of the shower. Whilst I was in the shower, I was listening to a video by the Bioneer, Adam Sinicki, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, and it highlighted something for me, and I just wanted to sort of document that. Let me turn a light on. Boom. So that video was Muhammad Ali training video. I just went on his athlete training playlist and just selected a random one as a sort of, motivational, inspirational, keep my brain in the right place whilst I'm just having a wash. But he mentioned how his jump rope improved. And his example was the crossover, right? Which I have always managed to do, and I've got to be careful that my towel doesn't drop, so I'm not going to actually jump, but you're here, you do sort of that type of deal, right? I've not tried it with these before, but you're doing your little hops, blah, 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 whoop-de-doop-de-doop, and then cross, cross back, cross, cross back, or cross, cross back, okay? You'll note, when I do it this way, I keep hitting myself, whereas when I do it that way, I don't. That is an issue I've had for a long time. That one way, I can't really seem to get the movement as well as the other way easily. I felt my towel slip, so I'm going to stop. And that is because of my left shoulder, I'm quite certain. Meaning that the situation with it it's been off for a long time. Like a pre-fatigue level of long time. Admittedly, pre-chronic fatigue, it wasn't anywhere near as bad. It was like a 1% difference. Noticeable, but still small. Within the amount you'd expect between a dominant arm and a non-dominant arm, right? And I was like, cool, nothing to worry about. But I've noticed, since I became more sedentary with the fatigue and everything, that it's got worse, particularly over the last year, where I've slowly started amping up what I'm doing again, but I've got that awkward situation in the car at work, where it sort of pushes my shoulders forward, but one of them is on the steering wheel, and it's usually my right hand, because I need my left hand to be able to, trigger the indicators, or I don't really need to change gear because it's an automatic, but you know what I mean. It's just a habit from driving a manual, which is what my car is. So that was interesting to me, that he clicked that his technique improved for jump rope through the crossover, just through practicing more. And obviously the rope flow, regardless of which way you do it, according to David Weck, the, I believe, founder of rope flow, he effectively saw this brilliant jump rope person whilst he was at a convention or something. He was showing off the Bosu ball or something like that, and he was like, wow, I'm gonna get as good as that guy but without jumping, was what he said on one of the podcasts I've listened to. So whether it's factual or not, I can't say. However, I like actual jump rope with the jumping. Great stuff, love it. That and rope flow together, because most of the rope flow stuff is up, down, moving all around, right? It's the tricks from jump rope without the jumping. So, yeah, when I do my jump rope, I think I need to get back to a base where I can sort of go for 1 or 2 minutes without having to reset more than a couple times. Even if it is kind of slow, and then I can build up the pace from there. When I reach that point, I can then start adding in some of the tricks, double unders, crossovers, etc. Because I think that's going to assist more with the shoulder. I might even try skipping backwards. Don't know how well that would work, but I've done it before, and it worked okay then. I don't know whether it's something that I could do sustainably. Might need to look into that, but yeah, it was super interesting to me that that was sort of something that came up with, what time is it? Oh geez! It's 5:25. I need to leave in like half an hour at the latest. But yeah, it was very interesting that came up with his video, like the Bioneer's video, where he did more running, did more bag work, more skipping, and he found the skipping was the main thing that improved. Now, that obviously doesn't mean that it will improve my shoulder, but specific adaptations to impose demands if I impose my shoulder to do more, which is kind of my idea with the rope flow, because it's currently I'm just using an old skipping rope, so it's really light, super easy, just moving it around. Then I've got these ones that I can try and use indoors here, and maybe take them to work to do indoors on my break if I can't go somewhere outdoors on my break. And I've got the kettlebells for if when I feel strong enough to use those as well to improve grip strength, and build a little bit more muscle. And then eventually one day, maybe for Christmas, but eventually one day I'm going to get an actual rope for rope flow, like a heavier one, to work like the kettlebells, but with that fluid combined feedback to assist and also improve technique. Because with the kettlebells, if I tried to do like a dragon roll, which I'm really not very good at, something like this, right? I suppose you could just sort of whee, I don't know. I'm really, really bad at it. But if I were to try and do that with kettlebells, I wouldn't get that same feedback of being hit with the rope and the rope's momentum stopping, because the kettlebells would just keep moving. Well, the kettlebells would stop, but the rope, like you flick it, the rope's traveling whilst you flick it. You get to here, the rope's here. The rope comes all the way behind you as you pivot, and then you move to redirect the momentum of the rope, I think. You don't have that with the kettlebell because they're in your hands. When you stop, they stop. It works better for things like the 8 and the Matador wheel, which are the only ones I know. I think I also looked into the Sneak at some point, but I remember nothing of it. But as I was saying, rope flow, nice, simple, easy, low energy, kind of. So the cardio component, if I'm tucking out tired or at work where I can't like get super sweaty and, you know, intense with it, like I like to do with my skipping. I don't very much like just hopping gently. I like to see how hard I can go, you know, within the parameters of my chronic condition, my injuries, etc. Obviously. But yeah, being able to do rope flow when I'm not in a position that I can do jump rope is going to be great. And getting this shoulder super active by doing some of that like every day, maybe not every day, but the vast majority of days, is going to mean that my shoulder's going through that like full range of movement like every day. And then with jump rope, most of it's here, like from the elbow, but that's going to help with the stabilization in that scapular protraction, so my shoulder blades are like more together, up and down, as it were. And that's also very useful because I need to work on my external rotation, which things like the underhand work, and I guess to a lesser extent overhand. No, just underhand rope flow is going to work, and it's going to be through, like, rather than being very consistent here or there, whatever, it's going to be at slightly different angles, so it's going to cover a wider area, going to help more with the lubrication in theory. I can then also work on the stabilization for the jump rope. And for things like double unders, I am going to probably have a little bit more movement in the shoulder, just because I need that little bit of extra power. Don't know if that's proper technique or not, but yeah. So, you know, I'm pretty happy. That's kind of why I use my big hammer, as I demonstrated in the actual ReeVlog rather than this here bonus is to get this arm to go through that range of motion. You'll know if you pay attention to the shoulder, comes round and up. Then if I change that, comes round at a different angle and up, and then also go the other way with both sets, right? That's the main reason I'm using it, even though it is going to be good. In general, it's mostly like rehab work on this shoulder, and eventually I want to get like a proper club bell or mace bell or whatever to around, and I can work my technique and whatnot. But once I have done a lot of rehab on this shoulder, I'm also now working on my thoracic spine. I was watching some videos whilst I was eating my breakfast, even though it's, you know, the afternoon. I understand, I work nights, it's breakfast time, okay? And they had like a modified cat-cow position, or cat-camel, whatever it is, cat something. I think it's cat-camel, but people call it cat-cow, but camel because it's got the hump, maybe? Or is that angry cat, and then that's the cat? I don't know. I have no idea. I did know, but it's not in my brain right now, or in the available space in my brain. So yes, that's a thing, right? And they've got someone online, can't remember who it is, like some physio guy, Dr. Jenkins, Jared, Jerome, has it where, like, if you sit back on your heels rather than being in more of like a quadrupedal position on your feet, knees and hands, instead sit back, so your knees will still be on the floor but your weight will go, well, you're shifted so that your lower back doesn't move as much, so you can get more thoracic extension and focus on that, which is very hard to do just standing. There we go, that's better. Yeah, because that is an issue at work, lots of peeking around to see if I can come out of a little driveway or whatever. And one point I want to get on camera before I actually close this out, because I've also got a plan to splint my toe, the one that's a little wiggly, that I need to actually go get mostly dressed, put on like my Crocs, go down to the car, because I've got a pencil that I've sort of chopped the end off of, and I've got a sanding tool in the car that I can use to stop getting splinters, hopefully, and then I'm going to use that as a splint on my toe and see whether that works better than yesterday's attempt to tape it to my big toe, because that sort of chafed, and I don't know whether this will chafe. This is going to have more restriction when it comes to bending the toe. We're going to figure it out as best we can, you know? Regardless, what was it I want to show? Ah, yes, the thing I want to get on camera is my rotation causes irritation in my back, which is at like one of the weaker spots, right? And so working that rotation is something I need to do, but depending on my arm position, varies when, where, and how intensely that discomfort, because not quite pain, kicks in. So yeah, I think that I'm going to need to do rows, but I'm also going to need to do full rotation, and I've still got effectively rows, like resistance band rows, which are full scapular protraction type stuff. But I also want to get the reverse, which I know is going to work the pec, but I want to make sure that the full range of motion's there, and then I can do like eccentric-ish stuff. But that's probably going to be more like a dumbbell chest press type eccentric, maybe. These are just ideas tinkering around in my brain that I need to eventually implement. But yeah, having lots of different ideas for how to continue my rehab process is good, but I still need to focus on my feet first, build from the ground up. The shoulder's currently the one that gives me the most problems, and I think the rope flow stuff will help with gait, which will help with my feet. Once I get my balance slightly better, my brother, trainee physio, pointed out that I've slight tilt to my foot, not like a clap starch, but a slight tilt, so it could do with being slightly more weight on the blade of the foot, and that my gait should roll around a little more rather than be straightforward. So these are things that I'm also working on. Regardless, with the time constraints that I have in mind, I'm going to go and finish drying off, get dressed, prepare for work, etc. So I'll catch you cats on the flip-flop. Goodbye.